Hi, fellow girls. I'm so proud of being able to share this today, what I have to say and what I've been working on for 20 years. My name is Elizabeth Moore. I grew up in Innsbruck, Austria, and I came to the United States 36 years ago because I have a sorry. I have an environmental engineering degree with and also a master's in ecology. And I was hired at California State Polytechnic University in Pomona, specializing in ecology applied to landscape architecture. And I worked there for several years. And then I moved to New York and I became a mother of 3 children. And all of a sudden, a few years ago, we started with a drinking water company, and I'm going to tell you my story. And I know you want to know about drinking water, so let's go. We never had any intentions to found a drinking water company, but sometimes in life, the deeper you get into a field, the more you search for something, the better you understand the issues, and the more frustrated you get by the facts. And then you either invent something or you find what you're looking for. And that's exactly what happened to my family 21 years ago. So in this slide, you see my husband, Karl-Heinz, in the middle, and on the left is my son, Alexander, who is 36 years old and is the CEO, then my daughter, Stephanie, and myself and my son, Philip, who is head of international sales and marketing. And we are a 5-people team. And so 21 years ago, my husband came home from a talk where he said at the dinner table, that inflammation of your body cells is the mother of all diseases, especially the ones we carry latently in our body. And how do we get inflamed? It's not that you are inflamed in your throat or in your stomach, it's actually in every cell of your body. And the culprits are sugar and carbohydrates. So at this dinner table, he also said no more juices, no more not that much sugar in our family anymore. And let's find the best water. And as you can imagine, that really didn't sit very well with our children, but we made a pact that we were going to find the best water of them all. But what does that mean, the best water? And it should be pure and healthy. It should taste good and it should be special. But like most of you, we really had no idea, first of all, what we were looking for, and secondly, what we were getting into, because our kids had no interest. And our knowledge was mostly based on what people were talking about and what made sense to us, and also some marketing, and also what famous people, you know, on the ads were talking about. So we thought, well, maybe they must know something. In the end, I know they don't. So we are supposed to drink 6 to 8 glasses of water every day. But what should this water do? Well, it should be cleansing and hydrating. And it should not supply minerals. And it should dilute and transport the vitamins and minerals into our bodies. And the hydration is important because it consists of 60% of water, and our brain even 90% of water. So I'm not the one who really likes to hold a monologue, so please use the chat on your screens and send comments and questions. And I really would like for you to get involved, because I don't like to lecture. Really, I did that at Cal Poly Pomona, but not anymore. Okay. So how much water do you need to drink? Here's my first question to you, which you might want to answer. How much water do you honestly drink a day? Not how much water do you carry around in your bottle? You probably have to force yourself drinking water because you maybe even hate it. And have you ever thought about the fact that you dislike drinking water because your body dislikes the water you are drinking and there's like a block. Let's talk about how you can increase the water you need to drink. And for me, I have a bottle of water in around me every day. I fill it 3 to 4 times. Some people I know put lemon in the water. That means they actually make it a little more alkaline than the water they are drinking. And some people use just vitamins and they dilute it, and that's what they drink. But always remember, if you are exercising, the 3 to 4 bottles are not enough. You definitely need to drink another bottle because you lose so much water. I also start my day with drinking a glass of water because during the night you lose a lot of water. You don't drink anything, and that's important. But believe it or not, and I'm not making this up, the best way to find out how hydrated you are is actually your pee. If your pee is almost colorless and doesn't smell, then you are hydrated enough. And please remember that. So now we know how much we should drink, but what kind of water should we drink to get hydrated, cleansed, and it should also taste good, that you actually crave for more water? I'm being asked these questions all the time because people are never sure, should it be tap water or should it be bottled water? Both waters from the faucet and also water stored in bottles are which are more or less the same, and that in the Western world, and that is actually very problematic, which I'm going to get into a little later. But actually, you cannot say that tap water or bottled water is better than the other. The laws are extremely antiquated. They actually come from the 1980s, and just imagine how long ago that is and how much medical research has been done in the future, in the past. Think also about the new pollutants we can measure and what we have and all the things that wash into your water, and how many of these pollutants we know have been proven cancer causing. And think about all these additives which are being put into water. Do we know anything about them? Is anyone telling you? And are they forced to disclose that? No. And think about in what kind of bottles the water is transported and what the state of the pipes are in your house and in your community. So let's talk about the municipal water. Municipal water companies cannot afford, and that's key number 1 to them, cannot afford any bacterial contamination. So they heavily treat water. And usually the water is groundwater, river water, or lake water. The pipes is the key because the pipes are usually very old, they are leaky. And remember Flint, Michigan, where the pipes were leaky and stuff came into the pipes from a plant. And the problem is that the municipal water companies measure the quality of water when the water flows into the pipe and not at your faucet. So when the water flows through the antiquated leaky pipes, it gets much worse. That's pretty easy to understand. Let's talk about bottled water now. It began in the US in the early 70s due to the mass production of high-density polyethylene. That's the thin plastic that is still used today and is very leachy. The first bottled water, still in glass, hit the market on the shelves in the United States actually in 1845. That's a pretty long time ago. And it was Poland Springs. And today in the US, believe it or not, people consume per capita 42 gallons of water, and that's quite a bit. Bottled water producers have a quest, and that's the quest for purity. But purity is actually a code word. And what does it really mean? Does it mean, I don't know, blue skies and Heidi jumping around in the mountains and snow-capped mountains and the creek gurgling through woods and blooming meadows and cows grazing? Does that mean pure water? I guess it doesn't. I'm going to prove it to you. So does purity mean that water is filtered? We go through reverse osmosis. Is it ionized? So filtered, there's so many filters, and most of them are charcoal filters, and they attach to your faucet, or you can buy jugs like Brita. They basically only make the water taste better. They filter out some of the chlorine, but are unable to filter anything else because they don't filter actually the impurities attached to the charcoal. Then we have reverse osmosis. Reverse osmosis sounds fabulous, I know, but the water is actually pressed through a membrane with tiny holes, which should filter out the contaminants. But it makes the water better than with the charcoal filter, but most of the time the holes are not small enough. There's some micro holes, and the membranes are super expensive, and you wouldn't be able to afford that in your house. And reverse osmosis is very problematic. And then we come to ionization. Ionization is like the super code word, but it means actually a very simple electrochemical treatment where the water, which is the chemical formula is H2O, is split in hydrogen and oxygen. And one part is then higher alkaline, and the other part is acidic. And to do that, you need to enrich the water with some minerals. And nowadays it's done with sodium. So you can suspect that ionized water is very heavily added, has very heavily added sodium in it, and that's also not really healthy for you. It also, the sodium makes the process much cheaper and faster. So another question, does purity mean you like to drink distilled water? Well, distilled means that the water is boiled and you catch the steam. So there's nothing anymore in the water. And you have to add something to make it drinkable. First of all, boiling water does not make the quality of the water better. What's in it is in it. The distilled water is also called hungry water. Hungry water means that the water if you drink it, the water in your body wants to attach to minerals, so it leaches you of minerals. And if you drink a lot of it, it can be really detrimental to your health. So what do companies do? They add minerals, and and of course those are not the expensive kind. This is the cheap kind, and it's a mass product. So not really recommendable to drink distilled water. But does purity matter if water comes from a spring, a well, or an artesian well? A spring is the result of an aquifer, where the water flows in the underground and comes close to surface. And it's not very easy to determine. So this water comes somehow and flows somehow to the surface. And it's a very problematic water because it contains a lot of bacteria, a lot of fertilizers, and environmental pollution. Spring is for us, and for me too, coming from Austria, something very special, and it used to be, but nowadays, unfortunately, not anymore, and the word is misused. A well is actually an excavation going down to an aquifer, and you have to get the water up by pumping it. So it's very hard to determine in a well where the water comes from. I know a lot of people are very proud to have their well in their backyard, but I highly recommend that you have it tested, but not tested with $40. It's a very expensive test because the water flows for miles and you never know what you have. Then you have probably the best, that's an artesian well, where the water comes up on its own pressure. The quality can still be questionable because the depth can vary between a few feet and hundreds of feet. But you're looking actually for water that comes from a super deep artesian well with constant low temperature, because that keeps the bacteria down. And the ultimate water comes from an artesian well in limestone. So, drinking water, last question. Is purity higher if water comes from the tap or if it's bottled? The government, as I said, the government agencies that regulate drinking water are the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency. Tap water is regulated by the FDA, Food and Drug Administration. More or less, they are the same. And as I said, again, please remember, nothing is better than the other, because both of those agencies and both of them allow that water is being purified. So purified water should be of higher purity than that spring water, tap water, or groundwater. Purified water is water that has been filtered or processed and altered, categorically treated to remove impurities like chemicals and other contaminants to make it also last. It needs to last for a year in that bottle. And therefore, the innate power, the natural power to cleanse and hydrate is really lost. And a lot of people call treated water dead water. And I'm going to read this to you because this is very interesting. Purity means to all of us, healthy, pristine, good tasting, just really good for you. But as I just explained, purified water does not really mean that the water is pure at all. Real purity is only water where there is no treatment necessary, water perfected by nature. And if I've now confused you, I really apologize. Maybe you want to watch it again or send me questions. But spring and purified does obviously not mean hiding in the mountains under a big blue sky. Another mystery word we're using all the time nowadays is alkaline. So what does that mean? What is alkaline water? So when you stand in the water aisle, and now you have maybe mastered knowing where the water comes from and what that means, then it says there's a high pH or high alkaline water aisle in the water aisle. Now we have a water aisle. It's quite amazing, isn't it? So you have to make the decision. And frankly, how high should it be? Or what is it actually? So first and foremost, water should be naturally alkaline. And as before, as I said, geology is the first influencer on water quality, and limestone makes the best naturally alkaline water. On the pH scale, 7, remember 7, that's what they invented, is neutral. All below, so 6, 5, 4 is acidic, and everything above 8, 9, 10, and so on is always 10 times higher, is alkaline. Natural alkalinity is important because it helps our body to function much easier and avoids inflammation. And inflammation is, as I already said, the mother of all diseases, and it causes acid reflux. Acidity makes the body use the calcium in your bones to make you alkaline, and because your system can only function in a more or less alkaline state. And our diet, and me included, I love sweets and sodas and wine and steak and everything, but that makes us really highly acidic. And that may start the problem of osteoporosis because the body needs to balance the acidity. Home water treatments, like for instance, the Kangen system that raise the alkalinity of water, use electrodes and often sodium to cause a chemical reaction. I don't know if you realize that. Do you actually check the sodium content in your water? It's a pretty good indicator if the water was treated with sodium, and especially to raise the pH. At this point, maybe I would like to ask all of you if you have ever looked deeper into what water you are drinking. Is it naturally alkaline? How much sodium does it contain? Have you come to conclusions? And would you mind sharing that on chat? I'm going to show you a picture, how the best quality drinking water comes from a raindrop into your glass. So here, number one, you see it is a graph that we use on our website for our water, Hallstein water. Sorry, I have to take a drink because I've been talking quite a bit already. It rains and snows on the high Dachstein Glacier. This is in number one. Two, within the porous limestone, the water washes down through smaller and larger caves and gets enriched with calcium and magnesium. Then number three, about 24 hours after, the water hits an impermeable layer in the underground and is redirected almost horizontally. And the oncoming water puts considerable pressure, and the water travels then 8 to 10 years through hair capillaries, which are very fine gaps between very fine sediment. In number four, you see that there are two end moraines. There's a concrete-like layers from an old glacier, protect the water in the depths from environmental and other pollution. And in number five, the water then climbs up 700 feet at 5 degrees Celsius under its own pressure and reaches our bottling plant. Here, I also have to, and I may give you a little plug-in from our water company, which is called Hallstein Water, because my family and I, we all asked so many questions, and then we employed the world's leading medical and nutritional experts, learned what factors would make the best water, and then we hired geologists to find that best water. So, you know, that was a lot of work. It was wonderful to do this with our children, but that's why we are here. We wanted to find pure water, naturally pure water, water perfected by nature. And that's also our byline, because this is so hugely important. Let me share a chart where you can see which factors are the most important. We call it the Hallstein octagon. There are, of course, a couple of hundred factors which make the purest, healthiest, and best taking natural water, pure water. We found that there are 8 most important factors. That's why it's an octagon. And I want to share it with you. By now, you know about natural alkalinity. You see that on there. You see low sodium, a deep artesian well, and a low exit temperature. But in addition, you need to pay very, very much naturally dissolved oxygen, which makes the water taste silky, which cleanses your palate. Wine tasters and five-star restaurants especially appreciate the high oxygen content. And it gives you energy after workout and cleanses your cells. Therefore, oxygen is an all-round important factor in your water. So, but oxygen is either naturally dissolved in the water or it's out. If it's in, it's in, and if it's out, and it can't go back. Then you have nitrates, which is the byproduct of fertilizers and manure and sewage and so forth, and TOC, total organic carbon, a value which indicates the cleanliness of water, and TDS, total dissolved solids, a value that should be moderate, and the relationship between calcium and magnesium needs to be 2:1, because otherwise these minerals can't be absorbed by our bodies. And whatever is not listed on your bottles, you should find actually on your Preferred Waters website. But because water companies are not forced to disclose this, they don't. Then you know, oops, something's wrong here. And that's was the reason why we started initially testing 300 waters which were available to us, and found out that the water quality was actually really terrible. And there were things in there which you really don't want to drink. So why should you care actually really what's in your water? I mean, I've told you now so much, but why would you care? So a valid question, and there are many, many answers, but I'll give you 2 examples, and those are pretty easily understandable. We all have been on a diet, okay? And when you're dieting, you eat less food. That means also you get less water through your food. And you are really hungry. But have you ever asked yourselves that maybe the hunger feeling is an alert for drinking more water? Because if you don't eat that much food, you also get less water and you're dehydrated. And we can survive weeks without food, but we can only survive maximum 3 days without water. So if you think diet and detox, is it the time to load up with sodium and additives? I don't think so. The second example is, are you taking supplements? And this means literally any vitamins at all, because the additives in most water not only completely obliterate the benefits of what you have carefully chosen to take, it can add toxins you aren't aware of. And the water you use to wash down these expensive pills are often tailored to your needs, because one needs more of this and more of that, can be full of a lot of TDS, totally dissolved solids. So that this water is unable to dissolve and transport the vitamins, or sometimes they even block the absorption of your expensive vitamins. And that's actually really, you don't want that at all. So lastly, what other factors do you think are important for a water plant? And I just want to share for 1 second where Hallstein water comes from and what we've been doing to keep our ecological footprint and carbon dioxide footprint really low, because you can do that and we can all live in harmony if you're just a little more thoughtful. We do not pump, we just harvest what Mother Nature gives us, and we don't destroy the ecological balance all the way down in 700 feet. We use 100% recycled glass in our bottle. And we use biodegradable packaging. We use non-toxic ink, and we also use biodegradable fillers and recycled paper cardboard. We use geothermal heating because in the plant, the temperature has to be high, so it has to be the same temperature all year round. And we built our facility into no man's land within the wood. We just cleared what we needed to clear. And we have a green roof, and we have locally sourced recycled building materials. So this brought me to the end of my long talk. I would love to hear your comments. I would like to thank you for listening. And I hope it was informative and you take away facts about what kind of water should you drink, what makes drinking water high quality, where does my water really come from, why does my water matter to begin with, and is my water pure and protected by nature? I'm going to switch now my screen. I hope I'm able to do that. And I'm looking forward to your questions. Okay, I'm going to the beginning. Alicia from Facebook wants to know, when you say sugars cause inflammation, are fruits included? Yes. If you have a diet too high in fruit, yes, unfortunately. And if you diet, they will always tell you that you are not supposed to eat too much fruit, and especially sugary fruit is bad for you. And we all think the roughage is more important, but the sugar is. But I wouldn't cut down on actually on fruit. I would cut down on other things, other carbohydrates. Beth asks, can you explain what is bad in regular water? I think I touched that. It's sodium, it's heavy metals, it is additives like chlorine, fluorides, calcium and magnesium for marketing purposes. That's probably the most important thing. Margaret from Facebook, why is water quality in general so important? Well, what I also wanted to say is water, we think water shouldn't be expensive, and water, because it's everywhere, should be of the highest quality. Well, I told you it's not, but the faucet water, tap water, is the companies need to produce, or the municipalities need to produce an awful amount, because we not only drink that water, we also wash the car, we sprinkle the lawn, we take a bath, we take a shower, we wash the dishes and the laundry. So if you think about the quality of water and in general, actually, that water can't be good, because how can a municipality produce such an amount of water? Krista, what about warm water? I've been told warm water with lemon is good. Well, I used to drink cold water and with a lot of ice cubes, because that numbed my taste buds, and I just drank enough to get hydrated somehow, and the taste buds did not taste how awful that water was. So now I drink the water at room temperature, where I enjoy the oxygen of our product Holstein, but my body doesn't need to heat or warm the water to my body temperature. I don't know what warm water does, but if you like it better, then drink it. It definitely kicks out the oxygen. Annie from Facebook asks, is drinking sparkling water as beneficial as to drink a still? Well, still water, if is of, let's say, if still water is of a pH of 7, CO2 makes the water very acidic. It probably then comes out to a 5.2, 5.3. So the carbonation in sparkling water makes it seriously acidic. And unfortunately, sodas are not only acidic, but they also contain sugar. So it's like a double whammy. Eileen asks, I've been told plastic bottles are bad for you and can be cancer causing. Is that true? Well, there are different kinds of plastic. One plastic is the thin PBA containing plastic. That's the thin water bottles. I would not want to drink that because it's proven that the plastic particles are not very good for you, and we should all not use them because they leach small plastic particles, and they are now everywhere in the world. There's another plastic, it's BPA free, and these are the thicker bottles. They are also easily recyclable, and those I would recommend to buy water in those. Hardly anyone produces them, but we do. Our 5-gallon containers are from that material, and yes, I would say my thought would be in the end it's cancer causing. Charcoal filters don't work. Sorry, Peg Hedrick. Is flavored water okay? Well, flavored water is treated water, and you pour more chemicals in you. Flavors are additional chemicals. Mandy asks, when you order water online and have it delivered, is there a chance of bacteria if it sits in the heat when it's traveling? No, it's not. There's no way, because you have to prove to the FDA and to get the permits to sell water that it's not. On the other hand, many waters are so heavily treated that that does not happen, that you don't really want to drink it. Mandy, yes. Thank you. My last question. I've tried Holstein water and it's incredible, so clean tasting and delicious. Thank you for this wonderful, informative talk. So thank you very much. I think I've used up all my time. Please, if you want to know more about the fact of the water, go to our website, holsteinwater.com, or email me. Girls Night will be able to forward the questions. I'm always there to help, and thank you so much. I was honored to be on this program.